If this clip looks familiar to you, it's because this is Stompin's first ace in Pro League. Not only was it his first ace in Pro League, it was on Falcons, aka Shaiko's team. And what was significant about this match, Screaming Jinxie aside, is that Falcons, aka XBDS, were 33-0 on bank before this match. They had a 3-year win streak, 33 wins, 0 losses, making them definitively the best bank team in the world by far for 3 years until Stompin came in and stopped that. Not only did they beat Falcons on bank, they also beat Virtus Pro on bank, because it is like a Pro Siege commandment to not take Virtus Pro to bank. It's like one of their historically best maps. And they beat them on it twice. So in my head, G2 was one of the best, if not the best, bank team in the world when they went to EWC. And I guess you could only imagine my surprise as to who would be the first team to challenge, to truly push G2 on bank. They would hail from Brazil, but it would not be FaZe or Furia or W7 or one of the main names from Brazil. No, it would be NIP? So today I'm going to VOD review the game. I'm going to break down every single round. I'm going to explain to you exactly how NIP, for some fucking reason, was the team to truly push G2 and surprise them on what was thought to be their, like, strongest map. Now, G2 are known for, like, really fast entries on bank, and especially on every map in general. They're really good at playing these cut drones, and you see Doki's already in the building at 30 seconds. Especially on bank, this is a huge thing because of the way the map works, right? The control you immediately get. You want to roam in open area because this is where you have control of the hatches control the site. G2 is already 5v3 on this site, right? So the fast entries from G2, they put the cut drones on the map, and this is one thing you can learn from your rank stacks, is that if you have a player like a duo you can play with, you put a drone in a cut area that holds a chokehold. Right here for bank, you would put it at the top of the staircase where Laura is standing, and you would use that and hold that until Doki can run in. Laura has a lobby cut, he can run through lobby, and you can get really fast entries. Really useful tip for ranked. G2 used to win all their, that's why G2 is such a good team, is they always have the cut drones. They sacrifice so many drones. You can look at their drone econ, guys. At 1 minute 47, though only 1 minute has passed, they only have 4 drones left because they sacrifice, and then they use that fucking drone econ to get the blazing fast entries that they have to work the rest of the round with. Why is that such a good thing? Well, if you look at NAP's setup, they had the Tachanka that's now dead, the Goyo, and the C4, and, you know, the Tuber House. Their whole strat was revolved around time waste. Waste time in this blue stairs area, waste time in open area, shoot some drones, drop down the hatch, use the Tachanka fires, and then use the freeze the hatch, or use the tubes, freeze the hatch, stall out time, use the C4s and the Goyos and the Tachankas, and then stop the plant end. So when G2 makes that quick of a pace on bank, that's why they're so scary. Look how efficient this clear is on a blue stairs player. Usually it's a stalwart position, a fortress sentry turret position, but it doesn't matter. Stompin literally fucking plot armoring his way through this entire fucking semifinal, or quarterfinal, by the way. This was a playoffs game. And at this point in the game, you're probably thinking, okay, G2 just walked through a basement bunker. What is expected, at least in rank play, to be the most powerful site on this map. This is chalked. Like G2 have just won this, right? There's just no way that NIP has any sort of chance. It's going to be a cakewalk. Stompin', they're literally just walking at them. 30 seconds entry into the map, making blazing fast time, completely fucking over the strat. And that's probably what everyone is expecting at this point. But we're all about to get surprised. Now, I don't remember anymore because I have like long-term dementia. Now we're going on to CEO. NIP with the Clash, the Tuberelle, the Echo, and they're going to do kind of a default horizontal extend kind of setup, right? And so the horizontal extend on bank goes something like this. You reinforce these E3 walls so that you can play in this hallway, and you also can play stock, because guess what? With stock control, you can also have a guy in Janny, otherwise the enemy will just collapse on him. So you could have this crossfire onto top square. You could also have holes from, like, basically Trump all the way down. If you make holes in this wall all the way into top square, and then you have, you know, elevator player, now you have a crossfire onto red stairs, you have a guy in meeting, now you have 3 people looking at windows, and you basically have this like horizontal spread setup that is the idea of the horizontal extend. Now, Fett, you might be wondering, how do people reinforce walls on the CEO wall knowing you're going to make holes? How does this work? I'm going to give you a really quick crash course on that. Now, when you're defending bank on Jan, you want to hold down Janny always because it's the one way to like peek out and stop the window repelsons. But the one thing is here is like People like to have this reinforcement set up because this way they can peek both sides. You're like a double threat and you can move around better without getting wall banged if you reinforce these two walls instead. But then you also need to have the top square holes open because guess what? You want to deny the entry top square and prevent the guy from walking close on the generator guy, right? Here's the thing, when you have this reinforcement set up, this fucking sucks. Because now you're exposed the whole time. You can't even tuck up against the wall. So if you reinforce the wall instead, now you can tuck up against that wall and you're safe and your teammates can still deny top square. That's why they reinforce like that. Quick crash course. Back to the video. That's exactly what they're doing. So NIP have banned the A's. They have not banned the Hibana, but G2 opt not to bring it. So typically with the double bans in place now, I made that video on the Hibana Ace ban where now you can open up E3 wall, make that long angle, but Stompin gets an immediately early kill onto Fantasy. I don't even know how he killed him or where he killed him, but G2 are laughing. They're doing a Windows take, so they don't have the double heart breach. Despite the fact that Hibana's up, they're not going to open up E3. Now, typically, you open up that E3 wall. For instance, you open up this E3 wall, you get to cut all the way down, and that lets you basically take this control and basically cut off anyone from walking up or down the main stairs. It cuts off the roamers almost entirely, especially if you have lobby stairs control, right, and square stairs control. G2 are not going to go for that. They're going to go for a Windows take. So they have the Buck and the Demos going in underneath to clear out the players from these positions, like in Janitor, right, to stop the window repellents, because G2 are, guess what, going for a Windows take. They have heavy util dump on the windows to basically fire over the top of the Janitor wall, clear out that guy inside Janitor, get pings on the people out surrounding Janitor, and this Buck's going to be able to displace them as well. Same with the Demos. They're going to move the people out of position to deny the window repellents and go for the window repellents. And just like that, you saw it just there earlier, just like I said, based off op lineup, you can tell exactly the take they're going for. So you can see it already happening. Here comes the fire over the wall. They just shot this hole over the top of the wall. You can fire the ceiling, fire the guy in Janitor. Grim's coming over. That is going to take G2's going for. Doki moves up top square, goes for pre-fires just in case he's getting pushed. And there's a Clash holding down the stock hallway against him. A little bit impressive. Buck still working in under from that control. Doki gonna take stock now. Now the biggest thing for this control is, like I said here, you need to fight stock in order to go for janitor control, right? Otherwise it's like a supporting cast duo right here. Wizard wins the one, which means he can still play this current position, but G2 are gearing up for that really fast entry they love going for. A little bit disconnected on the bodies on the windows because there's one still holding back playing the fast position, but NIP are playing this very, very well because the Demos and the Buck weren't used to their full potential to clear people out of all their positions. I think if G2 waited a little bit longer this round and didn't force that blazing pace, which did work for them last round, so it's understandable, right? It's like all of this is in hindsight, and that's why like Siege is such a low round count game in Valorant or CS. You have 12 rounds per side, so you can afford to like you know read their pacing, take longer, go for more shit. Siege, you have to gamble. The fast pace worked for you last round, you go for it this round because it's only 6 rounds per side, right? You lose 2 rounds, that's entirely a different half than in like Val where it's higher round count per side. So that's why G2 forces fast pace. It works out against them because NIP, well, they sat on the spots that were the soft floor. The janitor guy was still in janitor by the time they were going for this clear because, well, the util wasn't placed correctly. The mute jammer stopped the Grims from going through correctly, and the Buck didn't really fully stop it. Stop it in the 1v3 though, and plot armor doesn't work. It wore off after map 1. I like the full episode on the tomorrow on the VOD review of map 2, because that, as much as I'm rooting for Zach, because he's my boy, NIP made the most horrific mistakes possible for the plot armor to come through. So that's going to be a video tomorrow. Back to basement. Now, I glossed over it a little bit. Now, that last time we weren't around on that side because the round just happened so fast. It looks like the round's going to happen well, but we're going to go ahead and explain the basement bunker to the uninitiated. Everything on the bank basement revolves around this singular plant right here, because you can take it right from outside, crouch in, plant on this safe little wall right here. Literally everything. The best attack you execute of all time is to take this hash control from open area, take blue control, open this wall, plant the bomb. That is why NIP start a guy on the staircase, always to waste as much time as possible. That is why every team will start a guy in open area to shoot drones and then fall off to keep them from getting the hatch in 2 seconds. That is why people will stack a shit ton of Goyo canisters all over this part of the site and use Tachanka and smoke lineups to deny the plant for as long as possible. It's all just time waste into this one singular plant. Oh yeah, the guy's going garage. You play garage for that angle too, because this is one of the only ways you can stop that plant. So that's a general idea. You see Pino playing with the Warden shotgun in dirt early. You see the roam in open area. You see the player playing in garage. G2 have a blitz and a glass, which I'm assuming it's going to be going for a kind of fast play. I don't know what they're going to go for the entry on, but NIP, they want to keep this garage control with the Echo there. The Echo's like the primary resource for the cams on site, and the plant stop, it seems like so. 2 Goyos on there to make it. Laura going on this rappel, and this is a super important angle he's shooting here. And if you're a ranked player and you're a slower type of player, that's a big angle you want to watch, because if you're on defense and you're on an open area roam or even on a top floor roam, main stairs is a big chokehold, right? Going through this doorway down into main stairs, that's a big way to fall off the roam, and a connector, even from like Teller's Archives. If you're playing in Teller's Archives as a roam to like help your teammates out in open area and kind of create a crossfire with them and have a way back to site, this is the way to do it. Well, the hole that Laura just made is going to be a cut. And this is a really crucial key role you need to play, the cuts role in Siege. You see that from the E3 rappel, the E2 rappel, he's actually able to get it angled down onto this entire hallway, cutting off the fallback from Tellers, fall down main stairs, fall into E2, fall back from the double door. Big, huge cut made there, so learn that for your ranked games. Big ideas. But here comes the fast approach G2. Good pop on the pipe, and it looks like Pino was ready for it, despite the fact that there's no bottom. That's really dangerous. But yeah, Alamau setting up for a fast kind of play. C4 prep right above the doorway, getting ready for that, and NIP calling over 2 players already to go for this kind of double. A pocket Goyo, really interesting on this doorway. That's 1 less Goyo for plant stoppage, which is really, really interesting considering they're kind of putting all their lives on the line for holding down this proxy control next to site. Right, it's that important to them. They're doubling up on blue right now. And here comes the glass entry. Now, this is going to be an interesting roam for Nip, because you can see clearly from the way they want to hold blue against this blitz with 2 players. And then, again, the triple kitchen reinforcement setup that they clearly want to hold blue control, because guess what? By having kitchen control, you could basically get a crossfire with the guy top blue onto the E-box player and maintain this blue control for as long as possible to stop, again, all of it against stopping that plan from going down traditionally. That open area roam is going to be around the hatches near open area side. Fantasy's roam is going to be more kitchen side. 3 reinforcements used on that on the kitchen wall. But Doki's fighting it with the glass. Yeah, but what he's going to do is very smart. He smokes up the kitchen double, so he's going to cut off that 1 crossfire that would have happened from kitchen to go for the kill onto blue. But once again, it's a little bit uncoupled with the blitz and dirt tunnel. But Blast does get a backside lurk, and it's overall just looking a little bit disconnected. Now, here's the thing with G2, is they do this regardless. They do this fast kind of playstyle regardless. They create chaos across the map, and they disrupt the tempo. Because if you can think about what G2 is doing right now, it looks stupid in hindsight. But in reality, if they take their sweet-ass time, and they clear top floor, and they clear open area, and they clear kitchen, and they clear blue stairs, they get to the bomb site, and you walk right into NIP's strat. The reason G2's game plan and win rate on bank has been so incredibly high is because they cut corners. It's because they go fast. Because NIP want you to waste their time. G2 don't do that, they run into them, but unfortunately NIP win the gunfights. It looks like they're ready for almost everything G2's going for, and even though G2 banned the 2 operators that Brazil likes to use to hold down blue, because Brazil likes to put a zombie underneath the blue and site hatches and kind of play like a hard layer there, NIP seem to be ready for everything G2 is going for. Now let's go ahead and start talking about when the next rounds start coming around. What is NIP doing to start beating G2 on this map? Because G2 have looked like they've beaten some of the best teams in the world on this map. This is like their top 2 map picks, right? It's like Lair and Bank. It's like you don't take G2 to either of those. That's their 2 fucking comfort picks. It looks like NIP's almost gonna stop them. So here we go, open area, the tertiary site on this map. NIP has now 1 top floor and basement. Open area going to be a mid-floor site. You want to hold vertical control over it because there are 2 hatches going directly in a site. And then the proxy control and archives tellers basically stops enemy from just looking into archives tellers and getting a direct gap into site from the archives tellers control. G2 with the thermite, with the ram, with the, double roam clear operators and Demos and Doki, they want to clear this top floor, make ram vert over archives tellers from the site itself, and then hopefully maybe thermite the hatches or thermite open that kitchen quad wall to go for an execute here. That looks like that's what they're going to go for. And thermite immediately goes for a thermite on the E-box wall. If there was a castle in this doorway, that thermite would have broken as well, and that's one thing you should do and know as your thermites. If you thermite something adjacent to another wall or another player, you will get the kill on it, or I mean the breach on it. So if you thermite passport door on border and you're applying customs, you will break into the customs wall, the passport wall, no matter whether it's electrified or not. G2 get these angles. Now, you might be asking, Fett, why do you want to get these angles into open area? Ashed open like that. He just used 2 ash charges on the open area window. Well, it's because if you have this open, if you have this angle open, look what happens to all of open area if you have these angles open, right? If you have the middle wall open like that, because you have the feet holes for the defenders for the hop in. If they hop in, you want to punish them. But now if it's open more than that, how do you even move around sight, right? This is one of the most annoying cuts to play against on this map. You can't even sit on red hatch corner because you're exposed to the window. You can't move through the kitchen double. You're kind of exposed to the window the whole time, and it's just a very suffocating kind of angle to play, especially this angle right here does see onto the E2 double door, so another cut angle for you guys to take into your ranked games. But G2 have a lurk down in basement, and it looks like they're going for yet another fast play, and I think that's exactly what G2 have been struggling with, is that the fast plays have worked so well against the other teams on bank because it disrupts their tempo. But it looks like the fast plays NIP is ready for it. And that could be as simple as just the stylistic matchup. That's how the game plays out, right? Against teams that play more traditional banks, that play more so the theory of waste time, layer, peel, bank, that works. Because you're disrupting their tempo, and that all goes to rock, paper, scissors siege. But against NIP, and if you look at their lineup, they're not really playing, you know, the time slow operators, or they're not playing the Goyos right now. They're not playing the Cades, or like the util operators for the top floor, the Miras, the castles. They're playing trap, roam operators and night info, and a guy with a C4. And so it's a much more looser roam, but it works out because they're more ready for this scrappy kind of aggressive play. Right? And they all fall off. They get a pick, they fall off. G2 off their fast roam pick. It doesn't work out for them. Stompins was in the basement. Did not come up the main stairs with the commit on the lurk. And now G2 takes top floor control. And now they're able to start going for this first. So with blue control, it's very important because basically if you want the thermite to go for this kitch quad wall right here, open it up, go for the plant behind the kitch counter after you clear out this player here. With a smoke cross, the blue stairs are the one flank that would stop it, right? Because can you imagine if a defender came here, he would have killed absolutely everyone. But having blue control is going to like kind of circumvent that, right? So right now G2 kind of, and I remember the error of this round, is that right now when stomping against blue control, G2 should have definitely, especially identified going for that catch quad wall. But here is that blue stairs win con I'm talking about. That fight against Stompin is so incredibly huge because now, when Stompin had this control earlier, they had the kitch vert above the guy. This was the time that, you know, Loira could have walked up to that wall and genuinely got it open. If there was mute jammers on that wall, well, guess what? Doki can basically floor bang it, get a floor angle, open up the floor right here, open up the wall behind it, and get an angle directly on that kitch quad wall. I'll go ahead and demonstrate it right now. Here's another angle for you rank people. From janitor down, you could see everything basically along the catch quad wall, even at a tight angle here. Very good wall bang angle. That is the catch quad wall right there. New angle for you guys. Just make sure you remember that or use it for your rank games. They could have got the mute jammer off with that. They could have thermited open. Yeah, he knows it. He shot the guy on it. They could have gotten the thermite wall open, and they could have gone for the execute, especially because that forces this guy on Stompin to push through, and that gives Stompin kind of the advantage. The biggest thing here is that NIP know this. NIP want this blue control back. And by taking blue control, now they have that permanent flank onto the catch quad wall. Now G2 are at a loss for what they should do. They can no longer go for the catch quad wall execute. If they want to go for it's really risky because the whole time they have to keep checking their backs to this blue door. Right? And you can see that happen right now. Laura can no longer be sure about this blue door anymore because Stompin was died on the flank watch and they didn't get this wall earlier, which would have let him just play a little bit more passive on that. The mute jammers are still up on the wall, and this is just kind of a chalk position, right? What do you even do in this scenario? They have to foot the push, but look at the timing on the peaks from NIP. They're just so scrappy. They're so ready for everything G2 does, and now I want to talk about exactly what it is in this kind of play style of Siege that we're seeing from NIP that works so well against G2. Now, previously I mentioned in Siege, I mentioned rock, paper, scissors theories, right? I mentioned that like you have like a triangle of Siege playstyle where scissors beats paper beats rock beats scissors. Now this is like an old theory. Don't use it, guys. It's not really that good anymore, but it applies in this context because scissors is like aggressive. Paper is like objective base, right? And rock is like baity slow. Right? So you got to understand that G2's playstyle works really well against objective-based default bank. One of the best examples I can actually give is on bank, right? Because think about it this way. If both the attackers and the defenders play full objective, and the defenders have the perfect fucking time waste set up with the chunkifiers, shooting it, denying the plant for the entire round, who's going to win? Who's going to lose? The attacker's going to lose, right? Because the defenders set up perfectly for the objective. But if this guy is sitting here with his Tachanka launcher out or a smoke launcher out, and he's sitting in a default predictable position for the attackers to go for, then the attacker's flooding through into sight and fucking flooding through and murdering this guy is going to counter out that slow... is going to counter out that kind of objective playstyle. Now for bait, now for rock siege, it doesn't really apply in this scenario, but what it is you play like baity. So if the enemy is playing like a flood sight playstyle, which would counter the Tachanka playing the default spot, how do you counter that? You rat and you expect a deep push, right? You expect a deep push, you kill the guy in the flood, blah, 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 you win the round. And then how do you counter that as an attacker? Well, you play objective play siege. If they're not playing to stop the plant and they're not getting aggressive on you, then you just plant the bomb, right? Because they're baiting their asses off if they're not stopping anything. That's the rock, paper, scissors cycle. G2 are so used to playing that aggressive style of siege and that was a timeout. To disrupt enemies playing objective siege that they're so used to on Bank. They're so used to the Virtus Pros and the Falcons playing that perfect waste time, objective, play the hard spots, that their fast entries are designed by nature to disrupt that timing. NIP, on the other hand, offset that by not giving them the engagement they want and also playing aggressive. Now, another way to counter out a fast entry siege is to also play entry denial, right? You're against a team that loves fast entries, so you play entry denial. You contest the entries. NIP play a very scrappy contest the entries, then they fall back, and then they contest, and they play scrappy fall back, and it's kind of this loose play style that perfectly almost goes against G2's playstyle. This strat, in particular, by NIP, is one of the most interesting strats I have seen on this map, because this is a development of multiple cycles of the double ban developing new meta on this map. If masturbation was a person, what the fuck? Alright, will you be going over opportunities for next season? No. Only when they come out. Crazy 0v1. Yeah. Why your name Fett? Because it's short for fettuccine. Can you buy engineer cat girls and shit? Yeah, maybe. Losing to a ghost, my fault, bro. What the fuck? My cats are being crazy. You actually scared the shit out of me. So as we saw the previous round CEO, NIP want to hold down this janitor position to deny the windows, right? The other place to do it is going to be from meeting. But we saw also earlier last round that NIP are doing, that G2 are doing a windows take. They're going to flood out these players from janitor with the capitals, and they're gonna fast entry up the fucking staircase red side onto this player in meeting and use util to block this guy off as well. But you know what G2 didn't do last round is they didn't bring the range hard bridge to make this cut down the E3 hallway like I mentioned before. Because of that, they also didn't really have a strong stock entry. It was just Doki, and they lost it last time. So, and I'm thinking, hey, G2 are going for a full Windows take, and they're not going to do stock or E3 pressure. Let's pull out this Mira, which, as a result of people banning double range hard breach and not getting E3 wall open, can stop the window repulsions. I think you can get a long range wall. Not really. So, yeah, it's not entirely perfect, but you kind of get the point. It's kind of like a little bit of a nice adjustment on that side. Now, G2 once again bring the glass, the ying, remember a lot of util dumps, so it signals as at another Windows take. But again, they have the bonnet, which means they have the ability to actually open up that E3 wall. Now, especially with NIP not bending that bonnet, they bend the capital this time to basically let this guy stick inside the janitor for longer. Alex and Roland, thank you for the sub and ads, appreciate it, man. G2 had to switch around their util. So now that before they had capital util that would guarantee clear this guy out, this time they use a lot of disruption util this time. They're gonna use the smokes and the yings to clear out the players inside and use that to kind of like force in their entries into the map. Right, here you go, this mirror looking at the double windows and the clash. This is what happens when you have strong stock hallway control. You can play up this area called curve. By having curve, you can now contest top square, and by having top square, you can have this angle back into sight, right, through the fucking holes you made from top square, right? So this is such a strong position, and we've seen in APAC even using the clash to hop out top square windows to kind of kill the players on the rappel. Regardless, NIP have one big weakness. They don't have one operator. Pop quiz. What is that operator? Doug, give somebody an ask. I'll give you 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. They don't have a warden. They don't have to counter these smokes. So they're going to smoke off the mirror. They're going to Hibana the mirror. And what this does is it stops. Usually this castle player can shoot the aces or Hibanas off this mirror. But if you smoke it, well, that's going to make it RNG as to what it's going to shoot. So that's why you smoke in hard breach a long range mirror or a long range wall that's exposed usually to a defender's at all. So that breaks the mirror. Now, Khans is stuck in here, but there's an issue. He's mute. He can stop himself from getting pinged. And second of all, he's also had that hole that he mirrored was a bit too high. As Bolo said when he was watching watching with me at that point in the game. Holds a bit too high, he can crouch under it. If you can crouch under it, he can still move around within that janitor position. And then Wizard actually uses the clash right here, really, and then like tiny micro plays that you don't often notice in these pro games, is that Loira actually has the player cut off from leaving. Same with Alamau, because after they fired him out, he's kind of in a shit position, or not fired him out, but like just, they have his wall open. If they go for the opening the wall again, they have the EMP, they have that bot, they open the wall again, Cons is fucked. NIP read this, hey, help me, get me the fuck out of there. Wizard uses his body to block off the windows, NIP gets out. Right, good scrappy play by NIP, and it's like little micro plays like this that are so incredibly important that throw wrenches in G2's plan.
It's very much a common strategy. Doki's options here.
Fantasy makes a massive fucking play here. He gets onto the shelf position. Now, usually you play here with this window barricaded, castled, and a zombie on this closet, and you play here kind of like you refill this if this gets broken, and you can like rotate back and forth and directly deny the windows. Fantasy fucking prones under the windows to get in this position. And now G2's entire win con, remember, is that windows entry, just like we discussed last time. And Fantasy just gets in their face to disrupt it. Remember, G2 are so used to the players playing to their fiddle, right? Like, oh, this guy layered off Jan, and you fell back top square, and they get predictable responses to predictable plays. NIP are the kings of just throwing themselves in these ratty positions that aren't necessarily objectively good, right? If G2 just like grim out this guy, drone out this guy, they run Blazin underneath, they floor bang him, he's just fucking dead, he's stuck in this corner, the windows cut him off, there's nothing you can do about it, right? But that's a stylistic difference, is G2 are so used to people playing to their fiddle, they're not used to this guy Fantasy getting in their fucking faces, and just now they can't repel him. Now their entire win con is gone. Right? And now this has now basically forced Loira to go underneath, just like I said, and guess who's there perfectly anticipating it? Hates knows, one, that the guy's going to come underneath and eventually kill Fantasy when he goes for the plays. Hates knows, two, that there are echo drones on site, and that the janitor strat will eventually fall, and they only have control of the hallway, meaning they're not going to be able to stop every single plant if they repel a CEO. So going off the clash info, looking at them through janitor, and the echo info, he was going to play C4 underneath all of this site that's soft floor. And so by throwing wrenches in all of these plans, now even if G2 take in, they have a C4 underneath now. They have to go for a flood through, and there's so much info on site, they have to go kill the players deep, because they cannot go for a plant and CEO. There's a clash staring at them, there's a fucking echo, there's a C4 underneath, and there are so many obstacles in G2's way. NIP are so good at these obstacles. That is the main thing. They're not hard obstacles if G2 took longer to clear them out. If they played a really slow Virtus Pro, like if Virtus Pro played against this NIP team, honestly, or even Falcons, they probably could have washed a lot of these, kind of obstacles put in their way. But stylistically speaking, NIP know G2 go fast. Or maybe they don't know. But they're used to this shit. Maybe it's because of the fact in Brazil they play against a bunch of maniac teams like W7M and Furia just fucking sprinting at them. And they have a play style designed to just throw all these fucking tiny obstacles in your way that aren't hard to clear out if you just reset, take your time, drone it out, and just look at them. But in the heat of the fucking moment when you're going that fast, it throws multiple. It's like Legos. Like G2, like Legos for G2 to step on while they stub their fucking toes. G2 now go for another blue execute lineup. They're going to use the Blaz on the Mav to Mav open the hatches. They did get the Cade, but look at this anchor, full anchor setup from NIP. I don't like this idea from NIP actually, because it basically gives G2 the entire fucking map. They have the Goyo Tachanka to stop the fucking things, the plants. They have once again Pino on this blue staircase with the Warden. He fucking loves that shit. And then the Cade tube on the hatches, so it's gonna assault the hatches. But G2 take the entire map in 2 minutes 30 once again. The sensitive grim, I'm going to explain to you the the util later on, but then stopping on the the util dump for this blue stair. They saw last round that this player wants to play the blue stair super fast in order to get to their execute, which is use the grims and the senses to block off the site angles and go for the plant. They need to take blue control to get the wall open, right? So there they have stomping on the recruit. He has flashbangs, he has nades. He could dump a shit ton of flashbangs and nades down here, but he is warden, so they have to time the nades perfectly so that he gets baited out to a certain position on blue stairs and whatnot. And now at this point, G2, because they want to go so incredibly fast, they're kind of stalled out in their area. They're wondering, should we just go backside? Especially, and here's one piece of game theory that, like, you know, is an easy fucking applicable thing if you're playing 5v5 scrims, is that if the enemy holds one blue, and this is why people are always like, I think this is people like a little, like comp players might be a little like confused about why players position themselves in Pro League such a way. If the enemy plays one player inside of blue, right, one player over here, then it's fine. Like, you can go for that blue execute, it's fine, it's easy to clear. But people are always like, why don't you put another one in fucking server rack? It makes it so much harder. Well, here's why. If you open the locker's hatch, the CCTV hatch, and you sit a guy here looking at the server door, then these two pillars are now cut off sight for the rest of the round. They're now cut off sight for the rest of the round, right? And now it's a 4v3 backside, assuming it's a 5v5. Now you just hit backside, you have a man advantage, and you win the round 80 times out of 100 or something, right? So that's why teams typically only put one player on the blue side. And NIP don't even have that anymore. They don't even have that anymore. They fully fell off, and you should know this. And here's where the Sense and the Grim come in. The Grim is going to bounce it into red, pinging anyone down this hallway ready to stop plant. The Sense is going to block off the holes on this hallway to stop the plant. Because as a defender, you're kind of relying on these angles to stop the plant, especially this garage angle right here, right? And the Grim in the Sense completely circumvent that. Now, it also gives you the option to plant anywhere in sight, because even if you plant on the default spot, that's still a common C4 and pre-fire. The Sense allows you to pick a random off spot to plant the bomb, especially with Tachanka being the primary plant denial. You can sprint through that easily as opposed to a smoke where you take a lot more damage, but it's banned. Here comes a Sense grenade out. Maybe they'll blade out responses or not. Regardless, this is the strat we saw with Stomp and Running even back during the M80X days, and they're going to run it back for this one. Now, the biggest thing with Doki here is he has a huge job ahead of him, which is to actually kill the plant denial, because one of the most common lineup positions, and I hope they show it here, is going to actually, one of the most common lineup positions that Shanka likes to play is actually going to be in this area inside of, you know, lockers, which shoots through the boat that rotates. Doki likes to get down main stairs and go for the wall bang on this player, so you see right now the Shanka moves for that reason, and Fantasy's contesting it super aggressively for that exact reason too. Hates actually hits a crazy angle here, which I don't think, I actually asked the pro, I was in a call with the pro at the time that happened. E1 is such a powerful position because it's such an easy attacker entry if it goes uncontested, especially how many times have you been playing Bank, they're hitting server side, and one attacker drops E1, and now you have that, your site player has to basically just watch this guy the entire round. It's annoying, right? It's such a powerful position. Hates actually holds it just from the left side of the door. I actually never knew this angle existed, and it holds directly on a hatch. That's super cool from Hates right there. So kind of like a diff on the angle on the counter pressure for NIP on the G2. Laura Demon goes down. Doki, he was known for his hero entry against VP. I believe he tries to go for it once again this round. And he needs to be one, because if he's unable to disrupt this kind of plant denial scheme that NIP have going for them, he's going to lose a round, right? Let me go ahead and actually pull that up. For reference, G2 were in a similar position versus Virtus Pro in the league, where they couldn't go for this plant. You see all the, give me higher quality, please. So yeah, you see all the smokes, you see all the Goyos, and they can't stop it. And once again, same exact scenario. Loira on the E1 hatch, Doki going down main stairs. They're going to be the tempo breakers to walk into sight and break it all apart. And look at fucking Doki, sprints through. Once again, it's based off the enemy playing these default positions, like stationary positions, rock counters, or scissors counters paper. VP just staying in his positions. Doki runs through, makes the fucking hero play for his team to win the round against VP. So that is exactly what they're kind of hinging on again here. But remember, NIP don't play these default positions. NIP are throwing the wrenches, and they're ready for the entries. They're ready for the entries on main stairs. They throw the fucking K charge, or the super round charge on the main stairs walking down. Doki is unable to get that entry. G2 are unable to get the entry backside. Loira is unable to get that entry into E1 or the picks, and it gets completely stuffed. It's all play styles. It's all play styles, really. Could G2's on average, if they played 100 games versus NIP on average, 100 games on Bank across multiple different teams, will G2 have a higher win rate? Probably yes. But in a pure fucking stylistic difference, NIP is on top, 5-1 on the defensive half, and they switch over now. G2 don't ban the double hard breach. NIP banned the Cade for the hatches and Asami for the long angles. Now, one thing I love about G2's janitor setup is they kind of do this triple wall janitor reinforcement setup that I actually fucking love. I actually fucking love this setup. And I'm going to tell you exactly why I love this setup. Give me 1 second right here. Now, the reason this is so good is because, well, on the traditional ranked stock setup, you have these two walls reinforced, which means in Janny, you can tuck up in this corner in Janny and play a much deeper shotgun angle with the smoke or the mute, and you could also hold the stock hopping for your playing holding stock, so you can yell at them when, hey, enemies hopping in, you can hold these feet holes right there that holds it falling in, right? But the problem with this is, okay, it's hard to cross back to site because the enemy can just wallbang you from the windows while you walk back to, meeting if you ever get cleared out of here, so it's kind of like really fucking bad. The issue with reinforcing this wall and then leaving the right side soft is that you can no longer do that because you can't crouch in this wall. Despite the fact that you have double, okay, imagine this is soft and there's a hole here. You can peek both sides like earlier, but now you can't crouch here because imagine this wall is soft, now it's soft, and you can't fucking hold the stock hopping or tuck up the corner. G2 strategy circumvents all of this by putting a mirror on the right side of this triple reinforced Janny wall, popping it, and now you can do both. You can sit under this mirror, play in this corner, crouched. You can also use it to deny the fucking windows. I fucking, for one, love this setup. This is one of the best stock setups I've actually seen in a while. One of the best innovations I've seen in a while. W to whoever invented this because it gives so much breathing room in stock. And especially if they're going for the Capitao over strat, it literally lets you like dodge it perfectly. And if they Capitao you again, you have more room to like move around without getting wall banged. Super well thought out strat. So one of the better fucking setups I've ever seen on this side of the map. And yeah, I think a lot of what NIP are doing is going to get this buck underneath. Same concept as before. Use the Grim to get pings on the players in sight and then actively buck out the players while they're running around in sight. That's kind of the idea that they're going for here at NIP. Have the glass on the windows. Right now they're getting the gridlock on the windows. Maybe just stop them from running around. And yeah, just so the whole idea here is use the gridlock, use the glass, use the fucking Grim. Grim will get the pings. Buck will buck out under the pings. Gridlock will cut off the runaround inside. So like the choke points that they can run around, it will stop their mobility. And glass will catch them lacking if they move. So many ways to clear out players sitting on the soft floors in case there was a player sitting close or on soft floors. That's not going to happen. Here we see Khan's basically I think he's going to just miss the nade. It's going to roll off. Very unfortunate. One of the harder fucking nades to hit, bro. Just like hitting any castle off the windowsill is just so fucking tough. And IP do miss that nade twice. But here comes the gridlocks coming through. G2 put down that second mirror down on the janitor wall. And actually another fun fact, from inside of actually tellers, you see this slight line of vert that goes into janitor that you can pop mirrors from. A lot of players don't know this. Right, this wall is the wall. This is the site. All over here is a site. This is the full wall janitor. This over here is inside janitor. So you don't actually need to go into mini, which has a hatch up right above it. This wall, this room to the right of Buck. You don't need to go into mini. You can just straight up from this angle right here, pop both the mirrors. And it looks like that's what Hates is going to go if he can get an angle on it. No, he's not going to get an angle on it, but it's an easy way to get a free pick if they are on it. Another trick, Hates is probably going to buck through the kitchen wall because once again, entering mini gets you dead to the hatch right above it, right? The hatch, this hatch that this smoke's going to look at, entering underneath gets you dead to this hatch, especially if they rotate on the other side. So the buck's probably going to buck from the kitchen wall. So he's going to walk down in front of the quad wall, and he's going to, instead of going into mini to buck open that mirror, he's going to go straight onto this quad wall right here, or not this quad wall, like the wall next to the quad wall, and then buck through the vert on that quad wall, because it gives you a safer angle. You want to die to the hatches easily if the enemy chooses to progress. And I see getting ready for the little ATMs lurk. You always want to have your lobby counter pressure because one, it stops the enemies from jumping down into lobby and getting an angle through these windows, right? You always want to have your lobby player for this reason, because if the enemy has lobby control, no matter what, they could always come down in the lobby, look through these windows, and boom, you no longer have any repel players anymore because there's a guy just denying it the whole time. So you have your lobby player to deny that and also be able to create counter pressure up these red stairs. Crazy fucking lurk. Fantasy does go down though. Good by G2. Good proactive to shut down the lurk, and shutting down that counter pressure allows them to look at the other side of the map, but they lose out the majority of the engagement. NIP completely entry into sight. They look super well coordinated right now, and G2 are the ones that look completely lost. And that's the biggest thing about, you know, Brazil, especially, and not even Brazil, just like G2 as well. Oh, they do bring it back. They do bring it back. They do bring it back. Hates and Pino were a bit late to the party. I do believe if they committed the entries at the same time with the rest of their teammates, they would have won that. But the 3-2-1 is so important. And you see G2 doing it on their floods. G2 do win their first one back on the side, but the 3-2-1 is so fucking good, right? It's like you all go together, and no matter what, because we went together, even if you pushed up red while I push square side, you're pulling eyes, right? And that's why it always pisses me off when like people flame like KDs and stuff when a team's well coordinated, because if this guy goes up red, and then the players go in through the windows, and then the guy goes from square at the same time, well then even if the red guy dies, he has pulled eyes towards red. And then the other players, because they're fighting less people, can now eat up. And that's why KD doesn't fucking matter. Especially for a team like G2. Because they're an entry, commitment, fast-paced, aggressive team. Same with Secret. Same with Shopify Rebellion. So if this entry player dies, let's say it's always going to be Loira on the lurk. If Loira is playing against a team that is really good at shutting down his lurk, he will go 0-14. And the slower player, and if Doki is getting good, like if he's against a team that's good at shutting down the first entry too, he's gonna go 0-14. But then who's gonna commit on that and get more kills? Stop it, right? Because he's on the refrag roll. If they're really good at killing the primary entries, they're killing the main push, but then they're all looking at the main push, and then Loira hits a perfect backstab every time, then Loira's gonna drop 20 kills. So it's all dependent on the role, guys. Your amount of frags is all dependent on how good the enemy team is at shutting down your role, but you're still doing your job. If your first entry, you walk in first, you make the space, and then if the enemy goes at shutting it down, you go 0-20, your second frag eats up, or your lurk eats up, call it a day. If they're not good, if they're good at shutting down your lurk, then you on the first entry can drop 20 kills. That's how kills in Siege work. So open area, another top floor room. Usually you want to have like a 3-man top floor room. 2-man is very, very conservative if you want to like fall back, but Blaz is playing in Trump with the castle barricaded. The reason for that being is they're so... Now listen, I'm calling it Trump because, not because of political reasons, just because, you know, that's just the call out. But there's so many angles from Trump that you can hold. You can hold the square walk in. You can deny the window repels, and from here and from here you can hold the lobby walkthrough. The lobby walkthrough over here. Deny all of lobby, really. Like, I mean, this is the thing you're most scared of if you try to walk in lobby at any given match. And the long angles in the windows, that's why you bring the castle, right? You bring the castle so you make sure you don't die to that window. You know, die to the fucking E3 repel. You don't die to the fucking Batman repel over here if you just castle off these barricades. And then, you know, you have more room to walk around, especially if you barricade off this doorway, so that the window players on the quad windows won't have an angle onto you, right? This is kind of the idea. So that's why you bring castle to Trump. Those who didn't know. And so Fantasy immediately goes to clear out these castles. We're about to give that guy a harder time. Now remember, break the glass before you Hibana. This is basic stuff. Fantasy fucked it up a little bit, but you want to break the glass before you Hibana. Default trick. Hibana open the wall. The Trump castle's right there. Make that guy, his movements more restricted within that area, and that's why he's going to start moving towards that rotate, because this is the open area layer, right? The player inside generator has a generator hatch you can fall down, the E3 hatch has a hatch you can fall down, and the stock player has a hatch you can drop down. So 3 different areas that you can really drop down your hatch. They opened up this E3 wall previously, like I said, that G2 wasn't actually doing. When you open up this wall, basically that cutoff that you just saw, Blaz cross in front of, what the fuck just happened? How did I speed that up like that? I don't even know how to split it up like that. They're falling down to the hallway side because they don't know when they want to start falling off. NIP know they want to go for this entry. So that here comes the util. Legion gets targeted by Deimos. Brilliant 3-2-1. Off of Deimos track, off of the... They all commit to this entry together. And that's why you're going to see trades happen shortly, all at the same time. Now, Fantasy does have a bit of a disconnect from the rest of his team, and you'll see that in the VOD route tomorrow as well. He's always going super fucking fast, while his team's a little bit slow, but G2 trying to hold it down, and off of that tempo offset, which I think for this map and this entry in particular, it's good. Right, because Fantasy walks in, he breaks open the round, he makes G2 feel uncomfortable, while the rest of them start sitting the fuck still and being really slow and methodical with their fragging, and it makes them uncomfortable after Fantasy's entering. The rest of G2 are moving around, anticipating the next entry, but NIP have already slowed down. A beautiful 3-2-1, once again, kind of the same idea, right? You have a fantasy flooding deep from the window. You have a player coming up red, a player coming from a square, and then another player slow playing from the window, and they're all going super fast together. G2 was a little disconnected because there was one player playing here, one player playing here, and they're playing to die. But I think the other player that was ready to play fight, I think he fell back, and the other player died as well. I'm not really too sure what happened on the roam. I do believe their E3 player did die or something, or their Trump side player did die or something. No, Blast is still alive, so I think they might have a bit of disconnect between playing Tuck and fight. And that's a huge thing. And that's why comms are so important, right? Especially for your ranked players. If you're with your boy on a roam and one of you falls off while the other one chooses to fight, well, then you just made it a 1v3 if it's a 3-man entry on the attack for the player that wanted to fight, when it could have been a 2v3. How did the odds sound? 1v3 versus 2v3. Huge difference, right? Huge difference, right? So tell your boy, fall off together or fight together. Little disconnects like that completely change the man count game, the body count game. Right? Now, the biggest thing with NIP here is they kind of need to figure out one side to execute on, and any side they could have picked, they could have fucking won the execute. But they're fucking kind of dumb, I'm not gonna lie, and they kind of decided to spread out all their man count across the entire map, and they fucking lose, right? In open area, there are two sides of the execute you can go for. There's either the open area side or the kitchen side, right? For the kitchen side, you need tellers, or archives control. You need to make sure no one's coming up blue. You open up this wall. You basically walk behind the counter. You plant, call it a day. Voila. With open area, you drop the hatch. You need E2 control. You need printer control, and basically it makes sure no one can play here to deny the hatch drop. You tilt dump this way. Make sure no one's coming E2 side, and you go for this execute right here. All NIP had to do was choose one side or the other with the 3v2, because G2 had one player in each site. So they could have just like isolated the one side. They still have the ace, by the way. They have the fucking ace. They could have just ended square. Easiest square end of all time. Pino was already there. Cons was already there. What the fuck are they doing? They decided to go for a kind of a weird E2. One player here, one player there. Everyone in random different spots. Moronic execute, I'm not going to lie. And it basically allows G2, despite the fact that they don't even have the men necessary to hold down one side or the others. NIP could have, done it. NIP go for the stupid execute and win. But maybe that's the point, though. Right? Maybe that's the point. Is that Falcons or VP, all these teams that G2 are beating, would have gone for the default slow down. We all take one side and we just win out that round by default execute. And that's why G2's roams and fast entries on attack fuck them up, because they go for the default predictable shit like that. NIP don't. Everything NIP does is a wrench in your system. And maybe that's why they're the ones up on round, the team that was presumed to be one of the best bank teams in the world up until this point. G2 run open or run basement. They're going to run the plant denial again, so it's going to be the Chonka, the Goyo, and the Spoke. 3 different burn plant denials. Slow down onto the hatch and anti-burn. Same setup NIP. They're going to bring the Sense, they're going to bring the Grim, they're going to wall off the side, they're going to ping people in red, they're going to have this guy get the hatches, and Ying's also to go for the side plant at the same time. Twitch, super important operative for the side, just for the Goyos. So many people stack 3 to 4 Goyos on that blue side plant. Not today. If you have the Twitch, you get the hatch open, you put the Twitch drone on the hatch, you pop the fucking the Goyos from the hatch, and that's how most attackers go about their day. And so here we go with the default clear. With the hatch getting open, you see actually a double fall off for G2. That's because their blue player was a smoke, and now they want to use his smoke util because they wasted the amount of time they thought was necessary. The tube now has 2 more tube routes, 20 more seconds to waste on this hatch. With 1 minute left, you have 30 seconds of smokes, you have 20 Tachanka fires, and you have Goyos still up. It's looking fucking chalked for NIP to end on the server side of the map. So let's see what execute they end up calling. And that's exactly what they're going to do. They're going to switch it up, right? Because once again, that time calculation, this front side execute, the server side execute was fucked. They're going to go backside, but they're not just going to go fully backside. They're going to actually kind of fake it out. They're going to throw that sense grenade. He's going to telegraph the fact that they're going to be backside. That's going to pull eyes from G2. On the other side, Hibana is still in blue. And traditionally speaking, right, if you're against Falcons or Virtus Pro, the other best teams in the world on bank, you expect them to fully commit one or the other. NIP still have their planner on this side of the map. So they throw the Ying's backside, they throw the Sense's backside, but they still have a guy, the bomb carrier, go through the front side. And they have a full collapsing flood, and it completely confuses G2. Because you expect the team to fully flip one side or the other, just like the last round. What lost NIP the last round by going for an execute on every single point of pressure wins them this round. Because if G2, if NIP were like, alright, fuck. And if NIP were like, okay, this is all fired off, this is all fucked, fuck this map control, let's all go backside, let's all go here. G2 just divert all their attention on this side, chonk it off once, and then NIP are still fucked. But the fact that they've come from all sides still, that's what fucks with G2. Match point for NIP. Essentially the last round of the series. G2 once again, not the series, sorry, the second map. Once again going for that triple reinforced mirror setup. Mirror on the right side, just like I mentioned earlier. They have a freeze on the strat, just a freeze in case they go for any smoke aces. The smoke will dissipate by the time the 2 barrel's gone, so they can shoot off the aces off that mirror now. NIP going for kind of like a blitz sense fast push. I believe that's going to be... Oh, never mind, not a blitz sense fast, but they're going to switch to operators now, but looks like it's just like a default lineup. They have the ace, they have the Zofia stuns, they have the Blackbeard for the entry. Super default take. I think they're going to get everything E3 wall open, and then most of the takes are going to come from the square side. Hate is going to be, by the way, this is one interesting thing about Hates. And NIP is like, once again, it's just like their strats are so fucking creative, man. This is like, they just use the most unorthodox fucking weird, strangest playstyle to kind of like beat out G2. Hates is playing Iana for the sole fact that her head is white. You guys know that Iana's headgear is hard to see on that fucking coastline aqua repel because like, the background is white and her head is white. Iana's a dog shit operator, guys. She has seen like little to no pro play whatsoever because of how useless her util is at this point. He is playing that operator for the sole fucking reason that her headgear is white, and she's crouching over the main fucking stairs skylight because guess what? That's the entry he's going for. If there's a guy, look how bright this is. Look how fucking bright this is. If I'm here, and the white headgear is right here, think about that, guys. That's creative strategy. That's creative fucking strategy. So here we go. Stock entry. Now they collect around that top main stairs area. Blackbeard gets ready to hop in. Zofia stuns come through. Player comes from up main stairs and down main stairs. Hates gets 1 kill, but G2 are absolutely ready for it. G2 do a really good job. Fantasy does not time this walk up main stairs good enough. And what the fuck is going on by Lure right there? Tries to vault over and Assassin's Creed him, but the hip fire from Fantasy. Jesus Christ. 3v3 though. Now NIP are once again going for this spread around the map entire entry. They are fully slowing down though, and really good job by Alama to identify that pick. And a good response by G2 is to spread out and take these ones when NIP have their bodies spread out. Because can you imagine Zofia's on this position inside of stock? He's basically going to be the counter pressure the entire time this map, because that's going to create a triangle 3-way pressure. But with Zofia getting shut down immediately on this position, stuck in this corner, then that means G2 can play around this hallway comfortably, walk back and forth, and kill the players on either side of the map. 6-4 G2, or sorry, 6-4 NIP. G2 hanging on for dear life.
And we're in a great position to do so.
And now we're here to basement once again. The same exact kind of strategy. 3 denial, 1 anti flashbang, and an anti-entry from Doki to play inside open area to stop the fast entries. NIP have the Laz and the Osa, and they're going to use that to take Garage. Once again, another unorthodox strategy. You're so used to seeing teams take down from the top floor, open up the hatches, go for the server take, that sometimes you just are not used to these fucking cheese takes, man. That genuinely work in Pro League. Osa and Glass take this Garage position off the very rip of the round, and it's just going to be this mini game for the entire double smoke on the car. Stopping very smartly uses his chonkifiers, and here comes the Warden over here. The defensive side Glass can see through the smokes. 2 players that can see through smokes fighting against each other right now. Double up by G2 and double up by NIP. They both want to hold on this control so fucking bad. And you can see how badly Stomping wants his headless control, not only because of that, but because of the fact that he cannot leave. Right? They have him cut off, and there's 2 players there. He cannot leave. Osa leaves a shield with the Glass and walks away. Hates gets the first pick. They're firing out this Glass right now, and realistically, this should be an easy 2v1, but the thing is, it's fucking fantasy. And the fires miss. They don't move him off of the shield, despite the fact that there are literally red pings on this glass. G2 are terrified of him in this position. Look at the fucking pressure he simply puts down by being here. Misses the chunk of fire. You have to shoot down the glass to get it. But now I wish the spectator stayed over here. Look at this guy. Hashon peek. That's how you prone peek to get your whole shoulder out. Fantasy gets one. Alamau goes for the refrag. I wish we could watch right now. Alamau really wants a refrag on the Fantasy, but it's not going to work because Fantasy is going to get two. Fantasy on the single fucking Osa shield gets two. And Hades takes open area. And the completely unorthodox style. Completely unorthodox. They take Garage as their entry when G2 anticipate a top-down clear, and now they take open area now, and now G2 have no idea what to do. It's a 2v5, and he's still on the shield, cutting off all of Garage. Despite the fact that G2 went to fight it, despite the fact that, you know, they would have maybe gotten it against a different team, against NIP, it's not going to be the case. 2v5 looks super impossible. NIP hit a reset to just figure out the best thing they can possibly do. Hates is still, Fantasy is still Garage. Still fucking Garage, and now the plant comes through. Not a single wall open. I don't even think the hatch is fully open here. Fantasy gets another kill. Plant goes down 1v4 for Laura, and it's basically unfucking doable. And that is how the team that took down Shaiko's 3-year win streak on this map
one gas bay for Loira. Past the bomb chassis. Two players close inside of server. Frag grenade keeps him at bay.
Take down G2 on one of their strongest maps by far.
Yellow ping information, but sorry, Loira, that
unwinnable for Loira. And after the match, NIP win it, right? No, you would have never expected it. Alamau says, can't believe we lost Bank to NIP, because once again, they were one of the most dominant teams in the world on fucking Bank. And then Khan says, I can't believe I lost Cafe to some G2, because first map was Cafe, and it was one of NIP's most dominant. This series was so fucking strange, especially the last map when 7-7 overtime, and also resulted in some fucking hilarious plot armor bullshit. But I'll VOD review that tomorrow, so get ready for the part 2 of this series VOD review. One of the strangest series I have ever seen in Siege. I hope you guys enjoy these kind of videos, because I really do. But I mean, if there's any ways to make them better, go comment down below, because I do see the watch time is a bit lower than these in the live games. So I wonder, like, if there's anything you guys want me to do to, like, make it a bit more entertaining. I'm trying to do this like Gotham chess style. Just let me know if you like the strat, if you want more in-depth strat review, you want me to build up the strats more. I know I'm going a little bit fast and I want to get through every single round, but let me know how you would want me to do it. All right, see.